Peace, love, and divine light. It is Keprel. Hoping that everyone has been doing or faring well, I should say, during this pandemic slash chaos slash mayhem, etc., etc. It's been a couple of months, and I realized that I needed to pull back and figure some things out for myself to really understand or understand properly what I need to be doing for myself and for my family, and then I can kind of come back and help others. And so I did some retreats on myself on yesterday. I've been doing a lot of readings, a lot of shop orders had come through. I mean, it's been an influx, and I'm so grateful to the universe for just meeting the needs of myself and my families through the use of service, I should say. Um, so through the interim of all of that, I found myself very depleted, and I had to go into a inner retreat to where I really focused on finding out what my truths were and reestablishing them, not finding them out, but reestablishing them, because I already knew what they were. But when I'm doing readings, sometimes when I'm doing healing work, I sometimes empathically absorb others' information and DNAs and mindsets. And so I have to do a proper flush, which I hadn't been doing. But in the interim of that, or through the process of that, I discovered that there was some other work that I needed to do on myself and for myself. And I could honestly say that there is no work that exists, especially when it comes to yourself, that is easy work. But diligence makes it easy. And the one thing that I realized that I was not doing appropriately was being obedient fast enough. So, I'll give you a case in point. And that's what this whole thing is about today, is talking about obedience. Um, so, obedience to me, first of all, is something that I grew up listening to in religion and Christianity. Um, and for me, obedience always felt like, okay, you're being bad. You're being terrible, a terrible human being because you're not obeying something or someone, right? So it had a very bad connotation. And I had to reassert my definition to the word obedience. So what obedience ended up being redescripted or rescripted for me was that when you're obedient, it's not that you're bad or you're terrible. It's not that you're out of order. It's not that, you can't fix something, and it's not that something bad is going to happen to you. Obedience is really like I'm stepping up um, to answer the call. I'm stepping up to do what's necessary for the future, but also not so much for other people, but for myself, if that makes sense. If not, maybe it will in the future. But for me, that made sense. If I'm being obedient, I'm really doing it for my future self. I'm being obedient for my children's future as well. And essentially, as I'm doing it for them and I'm doing it for me, I'm preparing appropriately for things that drop into my spirit. So obedience is not necessarily being obedient to someone else outside of yourself, but being obedient to yourself within, right? Because of course, the divine lives within all of us, because we are a segment of the divine. And when you're being obedient to the divine, you're also being obedient to yourself. I know that's kind of a, topsy-turvy kind of thing, but when I looked at it just being obedient to me and how it actually serves me to be obedient, I wasn't so afraid of it anymore. I can't say that being afraid of it is the proper term, but really it's like why I kind of maybe shied away from it subconsciously. Not liking the whole term obedience, but maybe it also has some connotation with how I was taught in religion, obey your husband, obey your father, obey your mother. I don't have a problem with listening. I listen. However, if something doesn't sit right with me, I can't rock with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who you are. I can't do it. And so obedience left a very bad taste in my mouth, right? And so here I am now in this pandemic and realizing that my obedience to myself is more important than ever. You see, because when I am listening to my spirit, being obedient to what's in my spirit, what makes sense to my intuition, to my gut, the things that drop into my spirit that is placed in there more often than not by the divine, then I am preparing for something else to come. So let me give you a couple of cases in point. There have been a couple of times during this pandemic that I have gotten word to do things and to not do things. One of them was like, don't worry about rent. Worry and focus on getting the things that you guys need. Now, normally I'm the person that's like, I'm going to pay all my bills. I'm going to pay my rent. I don't care what's going on because I don't want nobody knocking at my door. I don't want no phone calls, right? But this time I had to actually listen and obey what was in my spirit. Don't put that as priority. Buy all the things that you need. Start stocking up and gearing up for things for your family. And then lo and behold, my eldest daughter came to live with us and my eldest son. So I have 6 children total. And my older 2 were out living on their own. So they've moved in. And then my daughter just had my grandbaby, had her baby. And then also then her spouse. So now I have 4 extra people in the house. And so I needed to listen to my spirit to prepare for them, even though I didn't know it. I didn't know that I was preparing for them, right? So that is a big point of obedience, is listening to yourself and knowing what you need to do rightfully, okay, justly. Another one that came up during this whole pandemic was, and that this is a time that I was not being obedient though. So my younger girls, they need a bed because they've gotten so tall, like little weeds, tall weeds. Yeah, they're not weeds, but anyway, I needed to get them new beds. And so I started shopping online for a bed. Again, this is a time where I wasn't paying any of the bills. And I went ahead and was like, okay, I'm gonna take this money, I'm gonna buy this bed if I find the bed. I found a bed and it was on sale for like 30 or 40 or something % off. And I sat on it because I didn't want to spend the money. I was hoarding my money, which is not good for money flow, mind you. And I missed the opportunity for that bed that was on sale because I wasn't being obedient to myself. And that's just one occurrence. I mean, I've had so many lessons in obedience during this whole climate that we've been experiencing. And it's I can honestly say it's been giving me lessons of listening and reacting, because it's not just being obedient when it drops in, it's applying action to whatever drops into your spirit. And that's where I realized that I was not doing things appropriately, even when it came down to where I started off talking about, when I get done with a reading, when I get done with a healing session, when I get done with a consultation, I am immediately going into retreat within myself to cleanse myself. That's being obedient to myself. That's being, and that's really one and the same, because I'm taking care of myself. I'm putting myself first, right? What I mean by that is, when I'm being obedient to Capra, therefore, I am preparing myself for the next thing. So let's say if I had behind every single session, I went ahead and I cleansed myself. I went ahead and did the proper care for myself. Then I wouldn't have felt tired and drained afterward, right? So again, this is where self-care and obedience kind of roll into one another. But this is caring for your temple. This is putting no one before yourself. I mean, this is a whole lot of things rolled up in one. But I think you all get what I'm saying essentially. Obedience is more about obedience to you, and more about obedience to your spirit. The spirit equals your spirit. Y'all hear that? The spirit equals your spirit. So when you are being obedient to the spirit, you're also being obedient to your spirit, yourself. You are the spirit. I had to take a pause for that because that just dropped in. That one was like, let me think about that one, right? So, yeah. So getting back to being obedient. So I'm hoping that you all have found some goodness within this that you can apply to your life um, as you maneuver, because I feel that we are going to begin to experience more and more and more. But in that, we as we experience these more things, we won't feel it as hard if we are being obedient to ourselves, if we are being obedient to our soul, to our spirit, and to our being, just our whole, right? So um, if you are here for this ride and you want to come out unscathed, learn to be obedient. With that all being said, my loves, I do hope that you all keep rocking away, keep vibing through this, and just don't give up. Don't give up on yourselves. Keep listening to your spirit, because that is not going to fail you. If your spirit tells you to go left, you better go left. And if it tells you to go right, you better go right. Jump high, low. You follow, because that is not going to steer you in the wrong direction if you're being obedient to yourself, right? Okay, so if you are interested in any services, I'll be leaving the link down below for you to either get a consult or services. But also, if you're looking for goods, like home goods, candles, bath detoxes, because look, we're going to talk about spiritual detoxes necessary. Yeah, I got you. Go to the link below or just IamTheGoddess.com, and I promise you will not be disappointed. Like, I've spent the past 5 years with these formulas. I give them to my clients and they always come out on top. So I believe now is the time for me to start promoting the products a little bit more, because I can't literally, as a light worker, I can't reach everybody. And I realized long ago that through the products, I can do a little bit more to reach more people. So spiritual detoxes, I'll be talking about that next. And if you're interested in that, you can also find those, a variety of those, in the shop. So sending love and light your way. It's Kepra L once again. I love you to the moon and stars and beyond. And stay high vibing. Love you.